Alright, so now we just place this cube here, and boom, we are done with our nether portal build. Oh yeah, looks pretty good. Alright guys, let's go to this nether dimension. Nether dimension. Wait a second. Nether dimension. Cube. Oh my god. I think I just figured it out. So, Jason Blundell. You are very, very sneaky, sir. So, I'm sitting here and I'm playing Minecraft. And I just got done watching a video by the Glitching Queen talking about the ciphers and the hidden book and how the last book is a artifact book that is missing and that could possibly be the Easter egg. And there's 2 John Dee books, and how John Dee was obsessed with ciphers and all this crazy stuff. So I went on Google. Okay, I decided to look up who John Dee was, and he was a mathematician, an astronomer, a teacher, astrologer, an oculist, and an alchemist. Okay, so I was trying to think back, and I was thinking back to my video that I did on the hypercube's blueprint border art deco. I've been talking about art deco, and you know, some people are like, oh, that's not it, and that's not making sense, and also it's France, and I was bringing up French and France and everything, and I zoomed in on the hypercube's border. I found the blueprint of the hypercube where the border, okay, was reversed and put together, so you see 2 lines of the border. I zoomed in on that and I found figures, okay, and with these figures I was like, oh, they put them in there, or they did this or that. I started doing more research, and I plugged it in to an AI system. This is exactly what the AI system told me. Okay, I'm gonna give you a word for word what it told me. Okay, so I plugged it in, and it says what those circled shapes actually are. Those images come from the KN44 Hypercube blueprint in Black Ops 3 Zombies. The important thing, the whole image is symmetrical. And I was like, what? No, it's not. It is designed like a mirrored schematic / blueprint. I'm like, okay. Your brain is picking out faces / figures, paradiola, and the symmetry. Whatever that means, right? So then, turn the music down just a little bit. Then it says, so the faces you circled looks like a mask / skull / clown, humanoid figure, creature face. But they are not intentionally drawn characters. They're artifacts of symmetry. I said, artifacts of symmetry? Huh, that's so weird. So artifacts of symmetry, but yet she was just talking about artifacts, but she's talking about physical artifacts. But artifacts of symmetry, okay? What it's actually based on, the blueprint pulls from real scientific, okay, so science, and mathematical concepts, not books. Mathematical. Well, John Dee was a mathematician and an astrologer, and that has to do with science and math and everything. Then it said something interesting. Hypercube. A hypercube is a tesseract and a 4-dimensional cube. But last time I checked, a cube was 3D. What does it mean 4-dimensional? So then I got kind of curious and I started doing some more research into it, okay? BL3 uses the idea to represent multiple dimensions / timelines. So we teleport using teleporters and we go to different dimensions forward and backwards in time. Okay, so if we use multiple dimensions and timelines, right, then that ties into the zombie lore, right? But then what about all the ciphers? Like, how do all the ciphers work? Okay, so I'm sitting there and I'm doing some more research, okay, and I'm just like, well, what does ciphers and all this stuff and the books and everything like that have to do with this? All right, so and then the patterns and the math, like then I'm thinking, I'm like, well, they use math for ciphers and they use this for ciphers, okay, and then now we're talking about a 4D tesseract of the hypercube, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, the symmetry is producing repeating mirrored faces. So what does that have to do with that? Well, it turns out, plugged everything in, it says those faces are not random. They're intersections of a higher dimensional geometry. A higher dimensional geometry? They make faces? Right? Okay. That's a little weird. Okay. So it says what I circled, cross sections from a higher dimensional structure. Okay. I'm like, all right. And then it talks about the concept of pareidolia, or however you say it. It says it doesn't create random patterns. It locks onto structured symmetry. This image is full of structured symmetry. So structured symmetry. Okay. Right? Now the book's connections where it gets interesting. There is no one-to-one match blueprint that strongly resembles the concepts from the books. Except there are books that have authors that talk about the concepts of a 3D object appears changing into forms of 2D. Well, 2D and 3D are different dimensions. But now we're talking about a hypercube, which is calling it a tesseract. That's a 4th dimension, which is considered 4D. Okay? So the 4th dimension used cubes and geometry at a higher dimension. Okay? Now hyperspace can produce ghost-like projections. Okay? Ghost-like projections. So I started looking into that. Okay? And I was like, well, what are ghost-like projections? Like, that's like, a ghost is like something that's there, but never seen. And then I was like, holy shit, wait a second. Jason Blundell was talking about, wouldn't it be interesting if something was there that has never been seen, but it's always there, right? I started diving even deeper, right? Okay. And then it talks about dimensional crossing points. Okay, dimensional crossing points, like what? Is it the middle of things? Okay. It says what you're seeing is a higher dimensional math. Well, what is a higher dimensional math? Like, what is that? Okay. I'm gonna get straight to the point. something that, how do you determine a higher dimensional math? Like, this makes no sense. Well, I started looking into it. Okay. All right. Here's what I found. I found here that when things appear in shapes and they point but they're symmetrical, it aligns with something called dimensional projection. Okay? Hear me out. Okay? If we look at the hypercube, or also known as a tesseract, okay, we know that there are nodes in a tesseract which point in space and time. Okay, so we're with the hypercube blueprint. It's there's a hypercube and it's inside of space, and you see all this stuff and everything. But each node points in space and times. Okay, there are connections between dimensions and maps, and there are symmetry to it, which are mirrored timelines. Okay, now it's talking about dimensional projection. So then I went and looked, said, okay, dimensional projection. Okay, that's great. So what is dimensional projection? Dimensional projection means to take something in a higher dimension, and it's also representing it in a lower one, 2D, 3D, 4D. Okay, example, a 3D object casting a 2D shadow, and a 4D object like a tesseract appearing as a distorted 3D shape. So we could see a projection, just not the full thing. Okay? Is it always there but unseen? In math, yes. Dimensional projection in math is always there but unseen. We can't directly perceive them. We can only see their projections or effects. Guys, the impossible Easter egg is dimensional projection. Think about it. Jason Blundell said that something's always there, but it's unseen. It's dimensional projection. He also said you'll not be able to solve it. You will never find it. You can't solve dimensional projection because it's not a problem. It's in existence. It exists, but it's never a problem, right? It's just a thing that exists that gives reasons why things are the way they are. Okay? But we, of course, we can't solve it because it's not a problem, right? And you can't see it because it's physically not there. But but dimensional projection works on the physical world. Something that is there, that's always there, but never unseen or never seen. Dimensional projection. Okay? In physics, it can be used, right? But then I thought, okay, how does this relate to solving ciphers? How does dimensional projection relate to solving ciphers? But then I started thinking about the John Dee book. He was a mathematician. I'm pretty sure it says dimensional projection is used in mathematics. Okay? So he had to know about this, right? Okay? So, here's the thing. In a dimensional projection, takes something complex and projects it into a simpler form. A cipher does the same thing, very similar. It takes a meaning, plain text, and transforms it into something that looks unrelated. Both are about structure, transformation, hidden meaning. Okay? Think of it this way. Original messages equals higher dimensional data. Encoded messages equals lower dimensional projection. Which projected information gets distorted. Some parts overlap. Some meanings is hidden unless you know the transformations. Guys, there's a cipher. Literally, when they break down and pull everything down, it says cube. It says cube. And everybody missed it. Right? And then I started thinking about the hypercube, the tesseract. Dimensional projection is the fucking Easter egg. It makes so much sense. Right? It makes so much sense because you're taking linear text, which dimensional projection is also linear, and you're mapping it into a 2D structure. Then reading it differently reveals hidden meanings. Okay? So it's like a matrix-based encryption type thing. I don't know. But it ties into linear algebra. Algebra is also mathematical. Linear algebra is word mathematics. It all makes sense. That's why he hid it in there. Because it's his source. It's his source of what he uses to do all this. Right? Again, when we take that and we look at things, instead of asking, what does this symbol mean? We need to ask, what transformation created this? Right? So that's it. I'm standing my ground on this. Okay? Dimensional projection. It's something that's always there, but never seen. And it's something we can't solve because it's not a problem. And we'll never find it because it's not meant to be seen, but it just exists. And that's what the John Dee and all those other books had to do with it. And teleporting back in time, and the hypercube, and the space, and the nodes, and the tesseract, and everything. Symmetry, right? And how did I find those faces in the borders of the hypercube when you mirror it? Dimensional projection. Jason Blundell, you're a very smart man, sir. And you're right. He said when we find it, it's not going to mean anything to us, but it's going to mean the world to him. Congratulations, sir. You fooled us for 10 years. And I think we all looked way too hard for this. And yeah. And again, he said it's not going to be something you're going to be able to interact with or do. It's just something that's there. Jason, my hands are clapping for you. And yeah. So that's it. I mean, that's the Easter egg. That's done. All right. I hope you watch this video, and I hope you confirm what I'm saying is right, because if not, I'm gonna look like a jackass, and I'll take it for what it is. So thanks everybody for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Peace.